Welcome to PHOENIXA Cheng Legacy Show. This is PHOENIXA Cheng. And we come back to the creation of the painting between you and Huang Xiang after the Yulan called you, say he can't sleep and he has to work with you. Then did he write a poem?
He didn't write any poems, but he felt that he had so much to say.
I understand. But so how did this work come into being? So I was amazed at looking at the work, but I don't know who come. I mean, you couldn't possibly work together on one canvas. Together, one has to paint or write first, right? It seems to me you are the first. Tell me, what's the process?
Yeah, this astronomy collaboration of American artists with a Chinese poet, and he wanted. So far as we knew, we didn't know anybody else that did it. It was a groundbreaking endeavor.
How do I interpret this one? And I see a beautiful sparkling sky, and then there is huge Chinese character crawling. So how does this work? Tell me the process.
I was showing him a cluster in the constellation Aquarius that's very, very faint and very distant. It almost looks like a smudge. It was like you could barely make it out, except in a very, very dark, with no light pollution in the sky. And it's categorized. It's known as cluster M72. And one of the later astronomers who saw it called it an insignificant object. He didn't know what it was. All he knew was that it was just a faint smudge in Aquarius. So he called it an insignificant object. What he didn't realize was that it was because the telescopes weren't powerful enough to really see what it was. It turned out that it's a very, very distant, what's called a globular cluster. It's just a concentration of ancient stars, 60,000 light years from Earth. And there's over 500,000. There's an entire section of our own galaxy where there's 500,000 stars bunched up together in this ball of stars. And but from where we see it at Earth, it's very easy to ignore. Most people in their lifetime will never even notice it, even though it's out pretty much every night in the fall.
So
got together. He looked at that.
He actually looked at that with you with a telescope. I see. All right.
And I explained it, and Ling would translate what we were looking at as best she could. And he was dumbfounded because you look at.
I just want to know the mechanics. So you come back and paint with what, acrylic or oil? Sketching
on black paper with white chalk and some pastels. And I use a red lamp because when you use white light, it dilates. Well, it doesn't dilate. It actually makes you. It shrinks the pupils of your eyes, so you get less.
So sketch first.
So the sketch first. And then I would bring the sketch to him and say, I'm thinking we should make a painting. What does this look like to you? And we couldn't figure out what it was initially. This is M72, the very first painting.
Which itself is a star field of stars. Is not that new. What's new is the massiveness, is a concentration of stars.
That it was always regarded as something that most people would look at it and think it wasn't any big deal. And it wasn't until much later with better telescopes we realized that what looked like a faint fuzzy cloud that was just like a little puff in the sky turned out to be this massive star field that we just needed more powerful telescopes to see. So when I told him what it was, he was like, it made him ask, and this is what happened throughout our entire adventure, was that we look in the night sky, we try to get answers about who we are and why are we here. And when we were done, we had more questions than answers.
Right, right. Yeah. And I love this poem. It says, who am I? Especially it says, when I'm living, who am I? When I'm dead, who am I? So do you have an answer? I'd like to know your answer at this moment. Who are we when we are alive, and who are we when we are gone?
That's a question that we all have to ask ourselves.
Can you try to give me an answer today?
I'll try. I try to be the best person I can for around the people that I love. And I like to share my experience for the people that I meet.
You know, the best thing or the most difficult thing is when you are nice to strangers.
Kind to strangers.
Or kind to strangers. That's altruism.
Yes.
That is what I'm trying to write about as part of the Cheng legacy.
It's clear from the Phoenix that that resonated with you.
Yes.
When you went to see that, it was it definitely had a strong impact on you because, well, I learned that the Phoenix is very meaningful, not just in Chinese culture, but in your life and your interpretation of the world we live in. And that's the entire mission of our project, was to invite people to look up into the night sky and to be inspired.
So let's come back to Huang Xiang's poem. I'm always interacting with you. Who am I? What are we when we are alive? Answer.
What are we when we're alive?
Yeah.
We're neighbors. We're family. We coexist on this very tiny planet. We have to do the best we can to.
What are we when we are gone?
What are we when we are gone? When we're gone, I believe what I do in my life is who I am when I'm gone. What I teach my students, how I treat my family and my loved ones, what I leave behind. Because we don't bring any of this with us when we die. We only leave what we did and what we were behind. And I believe it's our moral obligation to be the best and purest people that we can be. That's why I try, when I don't just make art to pay the bills. I make art because it's important to me. And I teach art because I think it's an important thing for people to learn, because it gives people an opportunity to have a new visual language to express their place in the world and their place in the cosmos. I think it's a pretty grim existence. You wake up and you just, working and paying bills and sleeping until it's all over.
And that I'm afraid is probably the traumatic existence. I think it's traumatic because it just does not go beyond the daily mundane. So people are become too callous, right?
I agree.
And people get sick out of all these traumas. So I want to help people to be healed, to arise, go beyond all these daily mundanes, which cause conflicts, cause sickness
and unhappiness.
If they understand, and
unfulfillment.
Exactly. If they understand a little bit more about life after death, or life beyond our human physical limit, perhaps above our head, maybe they can live a better life. That is really the single reason why we as an artist create art, right? It is to ask why and what and how, and then eventually share with people.
I believe that I think that as an artist, it's at its essence, we try to exalt, we try to raise the essence of the human soul and spirit and share that. When you listen to a piece by, say, Mozart or Beethoven, or you read a quote from a great poet or an author, they're alive at that moment. It's not just somebody playing it, but you know, when I listen to a piece like Mozart's Requiem, I'm not hearing I'm not hearing just an echo of him. I feel him. It's like when I look at a work. That's why I love going to the museum so much. When I go to the museum and I look at a Vermeer or a Van Gogh, or one of my other favorite artists, I'm having a dialogue. Even though they've been dead for a long time, I'm still connected to them. They are still speaking to us.
So if you ask me what we are when we are alive, and what are we when we are gone, I would say we are spirit even when we are alive, because we're too much body, we're too much flesh. All these sensations of senses, all these pleasure-seeking events, but we are actually spirit. When we share our spirit with our neighbors, with our friends, or with our children, and they can be affected, in turn, they would pass on the spirit to other people. So we are spirit. We're spirit that's benevolent and that's good. However, there's evil spirits.
No argument from me. Our mission is to be, in my opinion, and I believe what God's mission is for all of us, is a struggle is to keep our souls pure and to be good to each other.
Yes, however,
the universe is tough enough.
However, the world is full of evil spirits. That is my downfall of not understanding the evil of evil spirits. We need to understand what is evil spirit and where do they come from? How do we conquer them, or how do we reform that if it's possible? That is the core message of what I'm trying to do. We cannot just always talk about good spirit when we are avoiding the possible catastrophe caused by evil spirit. Do you believe in evil spirit, meaning their existence?
I don't believe I know it.
Where do they come from, the evil spirit?
They are a direct conflict of good spirits, probably from the same place. There's some people that refuse to acknowledge that. But honestly, that's out of my realm of expertise.
But if you are saying we are all made of star stuff, why some stuff is good while the other stuff is bad?
It's not just the material.
Yeah.
Soul, isn't it?
The soul.
The matter, the freedom of choice that we're given to. It's to be a good person or to be a bad person.
So the soul.
Different rabbit hole here.
Yeah. So the soul is not as material. It's not.
Completely not material. It's not connected. The soul is simply. The soul is the energy that makes us who we are. The body is just it's a vessel for the body. So
energy is vibration. So
well, that's again, that's something that we can. There are different interpretations.
That is the very essence we need to understand. That is what artists are all seeking to know, right? At least me and you probably. I think Huang Xiang wrote extensively about spirits, about life and death, about the impossible, unexplainable phenomenon of the cosmos. That's what I understand from this painting. So one more thing about the first one is who am I? Do you know what are these big characters? Did he tell you and explain what are they? Who am I? These big Chinese or strokes? What did he say?
He would explain afterwards. That was essentially the title, the essence. One of the challenges of doing a collaboration is to find balance, because that was the very first painting we did together. So as you see, when you see them all at once at the same time, you lose the track of the fact that it was a 2-year evolution of the project. The style changed, our subject matter changed, even the paintings became a different balance.
And how long did it take you to do the first painting? And did he do this in front of you?
He didn't do the calligraphy in front of me for all of them, but he would show me what he planned on doing.
You render the painting and send it to his house?
Yes.
Oh boy.
To come to my place. Actually, we would discuss the subject matter and what I was going to do, and I would leave him space for him to put his poetry and for him to work around it. And I would tell him what areas I would feel he can prioritize the poetry and not overlap into some of the painting, and to keep a balanced piece. And then it was a struggle the first couple of pieces, and then we found a really good equal footing.
Okay, let's talk about progression. We talk about the first painting. Is it owl, second, third, and how?
The first painting was Who Am I?
Yeah.
One of the later paintings, and one of my favorite paintings, is the owl. I thought was a beautiful synergy between us. I painted the owl, but I only painted the spines of the feathers. And he used each feather to be a line in the poetry that he wrote about the owl. And that nebula is seen every night under the ladle of the Big Dipper at night. So it's something you could see with a telescope, and then we added the wings to it. But each wing was a line in his Ode to a Cosmic Sprite. And I just found the balance. It's very dynamic, and it's just and colorful. And
so when you send him the painting and you actually give him the freedom to compose whatever he feels, you actually don't know what he's doing until later.
I didn't know what he was going to, what he would give me a hint of where he was going to be with the poem. He would give me a trend, and I would get a rough.
But how can he do that? And he is very impromptuous, and by the time he tell you, he already changed his mind.
And that's happened a few times.
Right.
Pretty locked in with that, and we wanted to, I wanted to give him the freedom to be himself.
Right.
None of this would work if I was not me and he was not him. But at the same time, we both had to learn to work with each other, because again, a collaboration, when you have two different minds working together, it could very easily be a failure.
Right. They say, oh boy, you just ruined my design. It's possible, is that?
It happens a lot. And and there are some of the paintings, there was a lot of back and forth, and then
it happens a lot with you too, you and Huang Xiang.
I mean, as far as the format goes and the subject, but we ended up with this really nice balance of my painting and his calligraphy, and that was what the vision was from the get-go.
So he has his autonomy of writing his poem, and it was only interpreted for you after it's done.
Mm-hmm.
And you were amazed or upset sometimes?
In awe.
Awe.
I was in awe. I just could not believe, and it just got better and better as the project went on. Because again, this went for nearly 2 years. The last piece we did, called The Question Mark, actually went on 10 years.
Let's talk about that. I actually did 2 big question marks with my own illustration for my book, PHOENIXA the Nest. So I also think this big question mark is the visual to entertain.
I looked at your website, your project with the Phoenix, and I just found it. I found it fascinating that we have that resonance, and we share that. The Phoenix is fascinating for me because it's in a number of cultures. It's not just in the West, but in Central America, Africa, and China. And it's like, how is a mythical being exists in all of these other cultures?
Exactly. Yeah. Dragon and Phoenix are a auspicious duo, supposedly, in the ancient Chinese mythology. However, China as a dragon, as many believe that, become very threatening lately. So I think I would like to manage the geopolitical feng shui. So that's why I created the symbol of Phoenix, which is a messenger of peace that is so lacking these days around the world. So that's why I'm doing a Phoenix remaking mythology. I'm revamping an Asian mythology from the classic of mountains and seas.
We did something similar with our Phoenix Nebula, because in Greek culture, in ancient Greek culture, the Phoenix rises from the ashes out of the flames. In this one with us, the nebula is actually an incubator. It's a nursery for new stars. When you're looking at the Phoenix that we drew or painted, you're watching the birth of brand new stars. It's like the phoenix is laying eggs and hatching these brand new worlds and these. One argue in my spiritual upbringing, in our theology, you hear it a lot, especially in the Catholic doctrine, that God is light. In the earliest stages of the monastery, you were given the curriculum when it was first laid out. That was called the 7 liberal arts. Of the 7, one of the subjects that was required in the monastery was astronomy, to explore the world and what and the wonders of that world. And so it's something that, for some reason, I find it heartbreaking and confusing in this day and age. And maybe I don't know if it's a Western phenomenon or it's a modern phenomenon. This inability for religion and science to reconcile, that they have to be separate. You can't be a scientist and be religious. You can't be religious and be. And I don't understand.
That's tragic.
It is, and I do believe this particular project, and what made, especially in art, the Renaissance so important, was that it was a convergence of art, science, theology, math, religion, all came together. And what happened when it all came together? So the most beautiful creations in the world came from that.
Absolutely.
And ever since then, it's just been a struggle, and I'm not entirely sure. And if anything, that's what I was hoping this mission would be, is that we can show that even though we're on 2 different sides of the world, and he's a couple of generations older than me, and we speak completely different languages, that we can come together on this one project. And I think we did pretty well, all in all.
Yes.
That we can come up with a cohesive and unified project of meaningful art.
A naked bird and naked sun dance wildly with no one to observe their mysterious lovemaking. Wow, that's amazing.
That's actually an emission nebula. It's basically one big. How would I put it? It's a star factory. That's what we're looking at. We're watching stars being born. At the tail end of the phoenix, there's all those little bits of stars you see out. They're all these little white flakes.
Yes,
that look like snow. Those are all baby stars that are being born. She's creating all of this light.
This is a very painting that's iconic. That's why I use this one to make a poster for the documentary, Cosmic Light Beings. So we're all light beings trying to bring light into the world, to diffuse the darkness. That's our mission as artists. Final question for E.T., the alien, because I saw your animation about alien. You believe in that?
I believe that there is, just the law of averages, there's something or someone else out there. There's just too many worlds like ours that can host life. Too many worlds out there, so many beyond count. Even when it's, and maybe not in our solar system, but I do think that there's a really good chance that maybe even within our own galaxy, that we have beings, maybe humanoid, maybe not. We live in such a beautiful, marvelous, intense universe and world. And for what little time we have on this earth, I'm just feel very privileged that we have the capacity to look in the night sky. I think that I am a conduit for a higher power, that my talent was given to me by God to share and to do good by, and to share my life's experience and to teach it and teach people how to do it as well.
I'm so thrilled we had the opportunity to study the working process of Randall DiGiuseppe and Huang Xiang. Through that, we had the opportunity to study the universe above us, around us. But my focus, if we could look inwardly in this chaotic world, we would find roadmap for the future. Please join me if you want to understand more about China and Chinese culture and more about the interaction between the East and the West, either through art or through technology or through beliefs systems or through mythology. My book, my novel, PHOENIXA Trilogy, will be launched. The first edition, PHOENIXA The Nest, will be launched November 27th. So join me in celebrating the birth of a work supposed to be staying for centuries. So I would love to hear your feedback about PHOENIXA The Nest, which is available on Amazon, in Barnes & Noble, and libraries around the world. Please join me in discussing the meaning of being alive.